Welcome to another StereoPhoto Maker tutorial. This time we're going to talk about doing precision alignment using the Easy Alignment tool. Precision in alignment is the most important for large screens. You can get away with a lot on a small screen, but on a large screen it's very easy to give viewers eye strain. Any defect in the image can do that, including defects in alignment. Auto alignment is great. It's quick and it fixes some things that can be difficult to fix by hand in the Easy Alignment tool, but it is not always perfect. It uses a fairly simple-minded way of picking out homologous points, and sometimes it will get enough points wrong to mess up the overall alignment. So if you're putting together a show for 3D Con or showing your photos on a large TV, like a 65, a 75-inch TV, you'll want to be a little bit careful and check the alignment that you get from auto alignment. So let's see how this works. We'll open a stereo image. So this is as the image comes straight out of the camera. I'm going to go to adjust and use auto alignment. This is the built-in auto alignment, and it gives you a number for the deviation, which in this case is 1 in 46. And you are probably used to mentally comparing that to the famous 1 in 30 rule, which we'll talk about a little more in a second. And you think, oh, this doesn't have anywhere near too much deviation. It's fine at 1 in 46. But as we'll see, the image has a very minor, admittedly, window violation, which we're going to fix. So I'm going to undo that and redo the auto align using the stereo auto align, which is more accurate, but it doesn't give you that deviation number. So having done that, let's look at the Easy Alignment tool for this photo. We're going to maximize it so that we get the best visibility. This gives you a way to tell what the reliably what the closest thing is to the camera, what the furthest thing in the view from the camera is, and whether anything is through the window. The one way to get a rough idea of what the closest thing is to turn on Show Grid here, and I have the number. You can change the number of squares across, and I have it set to 30, to correspond to the 1 in 30 rule. So that puts 30 across all the way over from this corner all the way over to this corner. And you can see I run out of image by the time I get to this corner. So this is set up so that the overall area here follows a 16:9 aspect ratio, even though my photo is 3:4 aspect ratio, more or less. The reason for this is that most 3D TVs nowadays have a 16:9 aspect ratio, and most recent projectors have a 16:9 aspect ratio. So in the if you were making a finished slideshow, either the software you're using to construct it would fill in that extra area on left and right with black bars, or you can have StereoPhoto Maker do that. But we're operating on the assumption that you're going to be viewing this on a device with a 16:9 aspect ratio. If your conditions are different, if you're looking at things on a large but very old-fashioned 3:4 aspect ratio monitor, or something like that you're planning to fill the screen with, then you might want to use a different number here to make sure that viewers don't have to diverge their eyes. So where does this 1 in 30 come from? It comes from the old days of slide projection, where a typical home screen would be maybe 6 feet across, so about 72 inches. Your eye spacing is about 2.5 inches, And you want the distant objects to be at most your eye spacing apart, so that when you're looking straight at the screen, you don't have to diverge your eyes. So if the distant objects are further on the screen than 2.5 inches apart, it makes the viewer diverge their eyes, which is unpleasant. Um, so the 2.5 inches is, as a fraction of the screen width, is 2.5 over 72 for a 6-foot screen, which turns out to be roughly 1 in 30. Or if you're a metric system person, the interocular distance is about 65 millimeters, and you'd be looking at about a 180 or so centimeter screen. So that's where the 1 in 30 comes from, and it's built in here. And for most purposes, this works quite well. Um, so if you the grid is at the window, that is, it's an independent. You see, it's just a black line. There's not a pair of lines like there's pairs of things in the two images. And that it's going to wind up, if you view this with your anaglyph glasses, it's going to feel like you're looking through a screen door, which is at the window distance. So if you put on your anaglyph glasses, you can tell that, for example, that pole is about, in the background, is about the furthest thing from the camera. And the closest thing is probably some of this grass down here. Now, it's a little bit hard to tell whether this grass is at the window or through the window. It sure feels like it's pushing the being closer to you than the grid. The tool gives you a 100% size thing, so that you can look at that more precisely. And so when you click that, you can click and drag to get to whatever area of the image you want to look at. And here we can kind of tell that this grass here is about the closest thing in the picture to the screen, and this blade right there is closer than anything. Now, is it at the is it at the same depth as the grid, or is it coming through? Even here, it's a little bit hard to tell that. So there's another tool that you get here that will flash between the left and the right image and enable you to see any differences between them fairly easily. The default is for the speed of the flashing is 20 here. I'm going to make it 55, so it'll flash a little slower. So I'm about to hit the flashing button. If you have epilepsy, you may want to bow out now. I'm not sure. I think this is probably slow enough that it'd be safe, but I wouldn't swear to it. So I'm going to click on the flashing thing, and you can see that most things in the image go from right to left as we go from cyan to red, cyan to red. So this goes right to left, this goes right to left. But when I look at this, the cyan is actually to the left of where it goes when it's red. So this is moving in an opposite direction. And that means that it's through the window. It means that if we were looking at this side by side, that blade of grass in the left and the right view would be closer together between the left and right views than the edge of the window is. So that's an easy way to spot that this thing is through the window. There are other things you can spot here. You can spot vertical misalignment if there is any, because things will jump vertically between the views. If there's rotational misalignment, you can see the whole thing rotate where the right will be higher than the left, say in one view. But anyway, we know now that this blade of grass is a problem. Could we have got away with this? It's such a small area of the screen that, yeah, we probably could have, but let's just show you what it is like to be meticulous about this stuff. So I want the two views for this blade of grass to be right on top of each other, and that will put the grass right at the window. You can have things, of course, through the window if you want, but this thing is hitting the edge. It touches the edge of the photo, so that's a window violation to have anything that's that will annoy your eyes to have anything that is closer to you than the edge of the window. So you have sliders here. You have a horizontal position slider, which is all we're going to play with. There's also a vertical position slider and some rotations and some other things. But all we're going to do is try to line that blade of grass up between the two views. And this is a little bit tricky. There are arrows here that you can fine tune these. I'm going to move this. Unfortunately, the snipping tool blocks my access to the other arrow here, so I'm just going to move it a little bit too far and then come back in using the arrows to where you can see those things coming together here. And ideally, I want the color fringing to go away. So here, now you don't see color fringing on this thing that's near the right at the window, and that means that it should be right at the window. If you put your Anaglyph glasses on and look at this, you should see that the right here, it's about at the window, and as it gets further back, it is clearly behind the grid that you see. So we'll go back to 100% size and click OK. Well, actually, before we click OK, we need to check one other thing. We want to make sure that the maximum deviation is not more than 1/30th of the width, which is to say one of these squares. So this is the furthest thing from the screen, and it's less than a square. You can see barely the cyan view right at that the grid line, and this is less than all the way over to the full square. So it's less than 1/30th. So all is good, and I can click OK. So now I've fixed an admittedly minor problem, but it gives you a feel for how this is done. So sometimes you can't always fix things. If you have too much deviation, if something was too close to the camera and there's infinity in the image, you can have cases where you actually need to crop, or occasionally you'll find an image where you just can't crop it and have to go back to the drawing board. So let's see one of those. I'm not going to save this. I normally would. 19th century stereographers, most of them were pretty sloppy about the window. So you'll see a lot of problems if you're trying to mount 19th century views for projection. So I'm going to go through and use stereo autoline on this. And that gets rid of, when it crops on the finish, it gets rid of most of that junk at the side. I've still got a little bit of septum in here because the view wasn't mounted symmetrically, but we'll worry about that later. If you view this with an ordinary stereo viewer, that rock in the lower left corner there is pretty iffy on whether that's through the window. But we can you can actually kind of see that it's a lot further from the left edge of this view than it is it is in this view, and we'll see that more easily in the easy adjustment view. So you can see with the views superimposed that this is pretty far over. And you can also, by putting your Anaglyph glasses on, see that that is the closest thing to the camera. So we can fix that by scrootling the horizontal adjustment there. And if I want to do that with more precision, I use the 100% size tool and click and drag down. And that's actually pretty good. Yeah, let's see, let's go a little too far and bring it in. So here, the color fringing has gone from this line here, which to my knowledge, my observation, looks like it's the closest thing. You can see a little fringing here, which at the edge of this shadowed piece of rock is probably a little bit further back. So I can click OK here. Whoops. So I've gone ahead and done that adjustment. That was a mistake, but we'll go back and do a check here. So we want to make sure that nothing in the background is that the furthest objects from the camera, like these background trees, are not more than a whole grid square apart. And having done the alignment for the to put the closest thing at the window, we can actually measure how much deviation there is in the background by moving things until the color fringing goes away in the background and noting this number, which is right now about 48. Actually, we can do that even more precisely using the 100% view. Yeah, so 41, 48, somewhere in there for the most distant objects. Now, I won't save this because I don't want that to be, obviously, I don't want the furthest thing from the window to be at the window. I just want that number. So I'm going to click cancel here. And SPM gives you the image width and height here. So if that 41, if I divide that 41 over the 2102, that actually should be, well, let's see, that should be less. You want that to be less than 3%, which is, that is to say, less than 1 part in 30. I think it actually isn't. I think it's that's actually bigger than that. So the way to fix this view, there's not a whole lot you can do sliding things back and forth. So you're going to need to get rid of the thing that's closest to the camera, and then you'll have more latitude. So I'm going to use the crop tool to get rid of that rock in the foreground. Make sure that it's out of both views. I'm going to move this up a little just to get rid of some more of the orange border. And so I'm free cropping here. I just click the cropping icon. I define the corners. And then when I click on this four-way arrow, it does the crop. So now if I go back to easy adjustment, unfortunately, this is now kind of pushing the one square. I guess this isn't even the most distant thing. So this thing is this tree here. You can see that the tip of it is about at that line, and this tip is further out than that. So I can adjust this to make that just exactly 1 square apart, and that will meet my limit for the background deviation. If I put my Anaglyph glasses on, the closest things to the camera now are these leaves along the left-hand edge, and they are well back from the grid. So that's safe. So if I click OK, I now have a well-aligned image that won't give anybody eye strain. So let's look at another example. Hyper images can be a bit of a pain because there's a lot of depth. It's very easy to overdo the depth when you're making hypers, and I did so here. So let's try, we'll use stereo autoline to start with. We'll go to the easy adjustment again. And if I click on flashing, I don't really see, well, actually, there's a little foliage down here that appears to be moving opposite the rest of the image. So I should probably dial that in first. So we'll go to put back both images. We'll go to 100%. And unfortunately, the image is a bit dark and the foliage is a little bit murky here in the foreground. But I will try. Yeah, so there you can see that I'm looking at this clump here. I'm trying to bring that in so that it's for sure behind the window. If I put my Anaglyph glasses on, that's not too bad. Yeah, you could imagine, you could try aligning to that somewhat brighter foliage in the corner here. Make sure that that's behind. So I've got the nearest object dialed in. I go back to 100%, but now I need to check at the end that that nothing is more than a grid square apart, and the edge of this is just barely visible there, but you can see that it's more than a square apart, or at any rate, it's really pushing it, pushing the edge of being a square apart. So I want to get so here now the problem is in the background, and if you put on your Anaglyph glasses and look at this full size, you'll see that that thing, especially with this lamppost in front of it, is kind of a eye catcher and eye strain causer. So I'm going to crop this out. I'm going to click OK since I've got the foreground, the nearest object dialed in. And I'll go back here to cropping and just click on the cropping icon to get free cropping. And I'll make sure that crop so that the building is, that is the foreground metal building is at the right edge of the photo. And I think I'm going to crop a little bit off the left edge as well. Click OK. And now if you look at it through a stereo viewer, you won't have that really annoying thing. And the depth is a bit more than you might like, but it's not eye strain bad. So there's another example of something fixable. So let's open, give you one more example here. So this is a shot of a dog where I got really close in order to get the composition that I wanted. We'll go ahead and do stereo auto align. And then we'll go to easy adjustment, enlarge it. And if I put on here, you can kind of immediately see that there's stuff in the background that's considerably more than a grid square away. And this would be kind of in the middle, and it's kind of probably a bit further from the middle. And also, if we go to flashing, you can certainly see this. It feels like this stick is rotating because it's as we switch back and forth, it moves in an opposite direction to the direction that everything else in the image moves. Even here, which is a little bit further into the photo, it's moving a little bit, but so I could crop to the point where could look for a point where this stick isn't moving the opposite direction. Let's say about here, and that will fix that. So let's stop the flashing. We'll get out of here and do our free cropping. So that little notch in the stick, I want to be a little bit beyond that. And for the sake of composition, I'll include a little bit of that background foliage, do the crop, and go back here, do easy adjustment again. And here, again, this is this leaf is way beyond one grid square different. So I've actually probably made things a little worse. On the other hand, if I go to flashing, everything kind of moves in the same direction. So I've got rid of the stuff that was a window violation, but I've got excessive background deviation. So there's really no way to fix this image. And you can go back, and I have gone back and tried to crop it different ways. And there's not a lot you can do. If you have a lot of great Photoshop skills, you could like darken this in so that the things that are a long way away don't really show up and attract the eye. But I'm not that good at that, so I just have to kind of give up on this image. So you can't fix them all, I'm sorry to say. So that is how to do precision alignment with the Easy Alignment tool. I guess before I close off, let's just look at some other things in here that I haven't used, just so you know they're there. Um, you can adjust rotation using this slider. You can adjust the left view and the right view separately. There are 0 buttons, so if I want to get rid of what I just did, I can click 0 to 0 that out. There's a button to link the both rotations, so that if you had something with a tilted horizon, for example, you could rotate both images till the horizon line is parallel to the grid, and fix it that way. I'm going to 0 both of those out. If you have a mismatch in image size, you can fix that with these sliders. You can also do vertical and horizontal perspective ratios. I've still got things linked. One thing this is handy for is pointing the camera up at a building, gives you converging lines. If you don't like that, you can do things like this. I can 0 that out, etc. So you have that's vertical perspective. I can do horizontal perspective likewise, because this is actually probably more what you would do for a building. So there's lots of possibilities here. I personally find it really hard to get things right from scratch with this, especially when there's rotation. There's a lot of iterating to do, and I'm sure if I spent enough time on it, I could get good at it. But I let the auto align take care of that. It's usually pretty good about not screwing up the rotation. Okay, so now you know how to do precision alignment with the Easy Alignment tool, and thank you for watching.